Welcome again, GatherVerse Summit 2024. That was such a very impactful conversation. And my name is Lengi Tao. I'm here in Africa, Nairobi, Kenya, and I'm very happy and delighted to have Athena Demos with us here. And at GatherVerse, what we prioritize is humanizing technology, one conversation at a time. So for this particular conversation, we're going to delve into building the future of digital identity, economy, and community. Athena, thank you. Thank you for being here with us. And we hope to learn more from you.
Thanks so much, Lynn. I really appreciate it. Thank you for inviting me to be part of this really important conversation.
Wow. So let's devote this a topic. So I want you to help me define this puzzle. How will the metaverse redefine the concept of digital identity, and what implications does this have for individual privacy and security?
That's like a big question right there. And it's one that everyone has been talking about. One of the things I saw in my time in these various digital spaces and digital platforms, what we call the metaverse, is that being in an avatar gives you an opportunity to radically express yourself. And so one of the things that we already are seeing happening, and I think it will even grow beyond that, is that different people express themselves on different platforms differently. This gives you an opportunity to try out an aspect of your personality at one platform and different to another. So that gives us our digital identity becomes really quite specific to what aspect of ourselves we want to explore at that time. The other thing that I noticed was that a lot of people that have social anxiety or social awkwardness in the physical world were able to explore it more effectively in the digital world, practice these human connections so that they could be more adept at them and be more comfortable with them in the physical world by doing them in the digital world. So we're not going to have a single fixed identity. We're going to be able to explore multiple digital identities. But one thing that we need to be really careful about is our privacy and our security. A lot of data is going to be collected on us. We're already the product. Our data is already more valuable than oil. I can't remember which publication I read that in, but I read that and I thought, oh, that's crazy. But it's true. And the more and more we get into these digital spaces, the more time we spend in these metaverse worlds, the more our data ourselves is going to become a commodity. So if we have different digital identities, then there's going to be different identity data sets collected about us.
Oh, wow. That's quite insightful. Data is the new oil, in fact. Yeah. And according to the media, I think the metaverse is the only technology where I see there's the death and resurrection kind of relationship. There's the death of the metaverse, resurrection of the metaverse, according to the media and the buzz out there. But I want you to help us understand in what ways can the metaverse create new economic models, and how do we ensure that these models are very inclusive and beneficial to all participants?
You're asking me all the big questions.
Please do.
So there's economic models that we're already seeing. The selling and buying of virtual goods and services, digital asset ownerships. We watch the big rise of NFTs, which I don't think they're gone. I think it's a tool that we're going to continue using as a way of authentication of ownership, of picking a single digital good. You know, if you think of buying an MP4, there's an unlimited number of possibilities of purchasing a single MP4. But what if you wanted to have a limited edition? That's what NFTs are for. They're non-fungible tokens. So there's only 10 of this. And that's how you do that. It sort of creates an artificial value out of scarcity. But then we also have virtual events and experiences. It's like buying tickets to your favorite concert or going to a specific meetup. You're going to be able to, or you already can, do those things. It's just going to become easier. And then, of course, as we saw with COVID, remote work, virtual work and collaboration. And Microsoft came out with Mesh, which is making that even more. We have Horizon Workspaces. Like, everyone is exploring the ways in which we can collaborate without the carbon footprint of having to travel to a single workplace. Obviously, physical connection is very important. It's a different way of communicating. It's not that the virtual is going to replace physical workplaces, but we're not going to have to go as often. And we're actually going to get more work done. And then you're going to see other things like social commerce and advertising. It's going to be very different and new. You're going to see social interactions being used for marketing in these digital places so that you can firsthand recommend a product to a friend directly through these digital spaces. We see a little bit of that in social media. I believe it's going to get even more intense in these digital spaces. But I want to bring up something first before we go to the next question. In order for these economic models to be successful, we have to address accessibility. Super important that we address accessibility at the beginning, right now, before, so that it's not an add-on feature, that we're not looking at how we can make these platforms accessible after the fact. Just like a little blanket that we put on top of it, and maybe it has closed captioning, and maybe it works with screen readers, and maybe the text is the right font. We need to put these aspects in place now. Digital literacy is super important. Tech equity. People need to be able to be educated and have training programs that empower them, empower the individual to navigate and participate in the digital economy effectively. And then fairness and equity and data privacy and security. It's all about humanity first in the metaverse. And then how do we create a safe space for community engagement? All these digital economies aren't going to be worth anything if everyone's afraid to participate because of trolling and cyberbullying. It needs to create a safe place for community engagement.
Wow, that's very massive. I think you've touched almost all the standards of the metaverse that we as GatherVerse community really uphold with so much value. And maybe I'll just go back to what you said, community and coming together as people. There's no metaverse without community. There's no metaverse without humanity. So I want you to elaborate to us in the community of GatherVerse at large. What challenges and opportunities does the metaverse present for us as the community, as us as the humanity, and how do we foster that sense of belonging such that there will be not some people who feel left out, or there will be some people who feel like this is our thing, and there will be some people who feel like I don't care. So help us bring that community aspect to this.
Well, the metaverse provides both challenges and opportunities in community building. On the one hand, all these virtual spaces can facilitate connection between people around the world without borders, transcending any physical barrier we might have. It facilitates connections between people of diverse communities to form connections around shared interests and identities and even goals. But on the other hand, the absence of face-to-face interactions and the potential for anonymity within the virtual spaces presents these challenges. You want to build a genuine relationship, foster a sense of belonging, And that can happen easier in the physical space. And at the same time, it can happen easier in the virtual space, depending on the people within the community.
Yeah, that is.
So we have to build a sense of trust and take away the digital divide. And how we do that is by being radically inclusive, accepting the stranger and everyone as a part of the whole, that everyone should feel welcomed, that every voice is allowed to be part of the conversation, and that we do not have fragmentation and segregation, that every avatar has a human behind it, and every human is part of humanity.
Oh, brilliant. I love that. I felt like it got into my heart because I'm in the part of the continent where so many people don't even have that digital literacy, and we're trying to bridge that gap. Let's talk about governance. How does governance and the structure of the whole policy and practices in the metaverse look like? Please give us paint a picture of what this would look like, because for me, it's totally clueless on that.
You know, I've been reading a lot about what's going on in the US government and in the EU with the way they're looking at regulations. It's actually been really nice that AI has taken so much of the media focus because there's less focus on metaverse. And then we as a community can do a little self-governance. I think it's very important that there are community standards for every single platform, so that people coming on the platform understand exactly what's expected of them. We need to have transparent and inclusive decision-making processes. The reason for that is that people can then feel like they're a part of the whole. They understand where these community standards came from and why it is so important that they bring them into their interactions with others on the platform. What is expected of them and what is expected of others. In the Burning Man community, we have 10 principles. And those 10 principles were really written as a descriptor of what we were already doing as a culture. And as new people come in, they have an understanding of what's expected of them, that we're going to be radically inclusive, that we expect there to be a communal effort so that we can all participate together, and that everyone is invited to participate. And these 10 principles build the foundation of what this entire community, which is 38 years old now. And I believe that we can take that as an example of how we build our community standards on these various platforms. The community standards of GatherVerse, the community standards of the Metaverse Standards Forum, or XR Access, or like there's all these different organizations, the XR Guild, but we're all basically saying the same thing. And they're clear and they're enforceable. We have moderation tools, they're standards, and they're balanced. And that is really what's important when we talk about governance. And then once we figure it out for ourselves, then yes, let's put those regulations in place. But I don't want to do that too fast.
Yeah, that's very profound. I agree with that. And let's get a little bit granular with strategies for equitable access in the metaverse. How do we break down these barriers related to technology, geographical, and social economic status? Please get a little bit granular on that. I want to understand that more. Thank you.
Yeah, that one's really complicated because you have some areas of the planet that doesn't even have electricity. And then you have others that have electricity, but barely, and it could be shut off at any time. I love traveling all over the world, and I've definitely gone to places where all of a sudden we didn't have power because the government decided to shut it off. And that doesn't create a fairness. It doesn't create an equity just with electricity. Then you have to tie in, what about internet and internet speeds? Is there enough internet? Is there enough speed of that internet signal that you can participate? Because you know, a lot of these metaverse worlds, they have a minimum, you have to have like 50 megabits per second. And I've gone to places where we had 6 megabits per second and 2 megabits per second. It was really difficult. So the foundation of our infrastructure needs to improve in order for us to have tech equity. Then we can talk about, does everyone have something does everyone have a cell phone? Maybe not. A laptop, even less. VR headsets, even less. How do we educate on technology if no one has the hardware? I don't know the answer to that question. I really wish I did, but I would love to see a think tank get together and try to solve that, especially for areas like where you are from. We really need to put forth an effort in Africa and in Latin America to provide fluid electricity, steady internet, and the hardware necessary for all of humanity to be able to access these metaverse worlds. It's humanity first.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. Your passion is so heartfelt. I really want to contract that kind of passion with the metaverse, and we wish you all the best. Our time is very short, and we look forward to having you back again. Thank you so much. Our Gather was well.
Thank you so much, Lynn. Our Gather was well.